Welcome everybody to the Sunday night call. Tonight's topic is, well, let's start off with a few announcements. So announcement number one, this is going to be our last call of the season. So we will not be having a roundtable going forward until October. And then we will start up again in October. I think we'll probably do the first Sunday in October and have that be the mini trials kickoff. That's what we've done the last few years. And I think that we'll do that again. So I've got that on the calendar right now. I think it's October 5th. It will be when we're back. And also next year, I'm working with Nicole Chassau, and we are going to get official first presentations every other Sunday. That's our goal, is to have someone that Nicole connects us with to give us sort of a much higher level Sunday night call topics, sort of sponsored by First HQ, I guess you could say. And so what that means is that I have already set up the calendar to sign up for topics for the entire year next year, and there's only 5 slots left in the fall. So if anyone's interested in doing a similar thing like tonight of get to know our team, you can go out and sign up for that. The link for that sign up is in the email that goes out every week. But additionally, if you go to team2052.com/roundtable, you can find all the links off to the YouTube playlist and sign up to host a session and sign up for the mailing list. Next announcement here. I know that I brought this up before, and I also sent out an email to the entire Roundtable mailing list. But KnightKrawler will be hosting the 3rd annual summer FRC picnic. So anyone within driving distance that's interested in coming down and sharing some food and some games with us. It'll be on June 17th, which is a Tuesday. We're doing it on a weeknight because otherwise we conflict with too many graduation parties. So it's a Tuesday night, 6 to 9. It's in the area of the school. We moved it to a different, if you were at a park last year, it's at a different park. It's a third the price. So we've gotten, we had to move the parks because they raised the prices substantially. And so we went to a different place. But this park actually looks like it might be even better. It's right on the lake. It's got some really cool stuff at it. And it's right off of 694. So it's really easy to get to. So we hope anyone who's got that weekend free, or that Tuesday night free and is close by will come and join us. Everyone's invited. You can also find information about that at team2052.com/picnic. And that's where you'll find more info about that. Okay, so I think that's all the announcements. Moving forward here, tonight's presentation is by Team 7028 Binary Battalion. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing about you guys' team. So impressed. The 7,000 team, relatively young, but you guys have been right at the top all of the years that I've known you guys. So I'm really excited for this one. Zach, are you taking the lead? Take it away. Do the introductions if you would, please.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Zach Osowski. I'm the program director for FRC at STMA, the head coach for Binary Battalion. I also coach FTC now, and I love all things robotics. What you're going to see tonight is a presentation that was put together by our 2026 captains. They'll be introducing themselves shortly, but these captains were selected at the end of our season. They're going to lead us into the new year. They put a lot of time into this presentation over the last week or so. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll take some questions at the end.
Okay, so kind of on the docket for now, we're going to do Meet the Captains, then we're going to do Team Overview, Team History, how we operate, sponsorship slide, FTC and FLL, FRC structure, team culture, design philosophy, outreach, and then lessons learned.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Addie. I'll be going into my senior year next year. This will be my 3rd year in leadership. I was a 2-year scouting lead on the team, and then now this will be my 1st year as captain. I'm just finishing up my 7th year in 1st. I did 3 years at FTC on our very own micro militia, and then finishing up my 4th year in our FRC team. I mainly do manage the scouting and strategy on our team while also helping the outreach team during the build season. How I got into FRC, my brother was one of the people who started our FRC team, and my sister also went through the program, so that initially got me interested in robotics. And then I took up the scouting and strategy of our team, which made me really get more invested into the first program. My favorite game would definitely be 2022 Rapid React. That was just such a fun year after COVID, and it was a really simple game, but a really fun game as well. And my favorite team, I do like KnightKrawler a lot. I do have a lot of good memories of them in our early years with my brother and sister on the team. So, and the cheer is just so iconic, and that's probably one of my favorite teams.
Hello, my name is Tate. I have been a captain on Binary for 2 years. I am the driver, and I work in build with building the robot. This year I was a Dean's List finalist, and this will be my senior year in FRC. The reason I got into FRC is because I'm an athlete, and I had a very unfortunate injury my freshman year playing football, where I tore my ACL and meniscus, and that kind of took me out for winter sports. So my buddy Alex, he got me into FRC because he kept nagging me about it. So I decided to join, and it has been one of my most favorite decisions since. My favorite game has probably been 2024 Crescendo because of how the contact is. It's amazing watching these 100-some pound robots fly at each other at insane speeds. My favorite team is probably 2056 because last year in 2024 at IRI, they were just really fun to compete with.
I'm Alex. This is my 2nd year doing leadership stuff. I'm my 1st year being a captain. I've been leading the CAD program for a couple years now, and it's my 4th year on the drive team. I mostly do the CAD. That's kind of what I'm in charge of. I'm a senior this year. It's my 5th year, and that kind of ties to how I got into FRC. My dad has been one of the coaches since when the program started here in St. Michael, Albertville area. My favorite game is probably Crescendo because we had such a great year. We got to go to Worlds for the first time. And my favorite team is probably 2590 Nemesis because they were our alliance partners in Einstein in 2024.
I'm Mallory. I will be going into my senior year next year, and it will be my 3rd year on the team and my 1st year as captain. I originally started out on the outreach platoon and working with Impact, but I made a decision to be on build this year, which was one of the best decisions I made. And then during competitions, I am a pit scout alongside Addie and a couple other members of the team, which is probably one of my favorite things about regionals. And I actually got into FRC because of Addie. She had been my friend for a long time, and she thought I would love robotics, and she was absolutely right. It's one of my favorite things to do every single day during the season. My fave game is also Crescendo, like Tate and Alex. It was my rookie year, obviously, and it's just an interesting game to watch. It's really fast paced. It's simple enough, and it's every robot had their own little uniqueness to them. And then my favorite team is 118 Robonauts because I went to their open house when we went to Worlds, and it's just really cool to see such an established team like that and see their facilities and behind the scenes, and it just gave me a new perspective on what robotics really could be.
And I'm Will. I will also be senior next year. I'm also rounding up my 4th year on the team next year. It will be my 2nd year as captain, and then my 3rd year as safety captain. My role on the team, I am just kind of float around. I started off on media my freshman year, then I did outreach my sophomore year, and then I've been kind of doing a hybrid of outreach and manufacturing, just to get a better idea of how a lot of the facets of the team work. So then I help run the pit presentations that we give at regionals. it's one thing robotics has definitely helped me improve on is my public speaking skills. I got into FRC also because of Alex. He was also nagging me to join. And again, like Tate, one of the best decisions I've ever made. I've learned so much that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. My favorite game is also Crescendo. I agree with Tate. I liked seeing all the high-speed robots going on each other, but I also liked when the robots would shoot the notes out of the field. That was also pretty cool. And then my favorite team was 1690 Orbit. They just have such amazing designs, and when I got to talk to them at Champs, they were very kind and humble. Even though they were world champions 2 years ago and in second place in the world this year, they were just really humble, and they were really nice to talk to.
Okay, so a little bit of a team overview here. We're located in St. Michael, Albertville, which is about an hour northwest of Minneapolis. Our rookie year was 2018, so about 7 years ago now. And we are supported through our community education program, but we're ultimately ran by the STMA Robotics Association, and that they help us with our funding and they oversee our FTC and FLL teams as well. We typically have around 40 students. We have 38 students this year with 20 mentors, and mentors are absolutely essential to our team. They keep everything running and they give a lot of aid to our students. And then we have two coaches, Zach Osowski and then Ben Wadmacher. And then some team history. 2018 was our rookie year, like I said. Our team formed after some high student interest, and actually, some of the original members of the team were at an off-season event and were allowed to borrow a robot made by 3023 Stark Industries. And they were allowed to use that at the off-season event, which got a lot of students interested in actually starting their own team. And so that's what led into our rookie year, where we competed at Lake Superior with a rank of 41 out of 62. And we won the Rookie All-Star Award and were the highest seeded rookie team at that regional. And that Rookie All-Star Award led us to the Carson Division at Worlds, where we ranked 57th. And the biggest takeaway from that is that we wanted to keep going. We wanted to keep doing this program. In 2019, we participated in Northern Lights and ranked 11th and were semifinalists. And then we were at 10,000 Lakes, ranked 5th and also semifinalists, winning the Creativity Award. And then ranking 3rd at the Minnesota State Championship, where we took 4th. And I think the biggest takeaway that year was battery management, just because we had a lot of issues with rounding out that year. And we had, I think, like 4 to 6 batteries. And we now just have a really organized system where we have loads of batteries and they're all well labeled and well managed by our electrical team, which prevents us from having issues like that. And in 2020, that was our COVID year. So we were only able to participate at one regional where we ranked 13th and were semifinalists. And the biggest takeaway from that is our intake is the second most important subsystem on the robot because it's essential to an effective robot. If you can't have an effective intake, you're not going to be able to compete, period. In 2021, that was a gap year for FIRST as a whole. So we created our tank or parade bot, which shot T-shirts and nerds, and that really helped us with community outreach. It gave us a lot of visibility to the greater of like St. Michael, Albertville, everyone in the parades, and it kind of showed them what we actually do at 7028 because not a lot of people knew what we actually did, and we used it in a lot of other school events, but we haven't used it in the past couple of years. And then in 2022, we were at GNR where we ranked 4th and were semifinalists. And we also won the Innovation and Control Award. And we also competed in the 10,000 Lakes tournament where we ranked 3rd and were finalists, taking the Autonomous Award. And then we ranked 11th at the Minnesota State Championship. And the biggest takeaway that year was a full robot CAD design is pretty essential to our success. That was the first year that we did a full CAD design. And it allows us to be more precise and intentional when making the robot, testing geometry, figuring out exactly how the pieces are going to fit together and just work better. It's more consistent. And in 2023, we also competed at GNR, where we ranked 3rd and we were semifinalists, where we won the Innovation and Control Award. We also competed at Minnesota North Star, where we ranked 16th and were semifinalists, winning the Autonomous Award, and ranked 30th at the Minnesota State Championship. The biggest takeaway this year was that clever designs aren't necessarily good designs. Don't focus on something specific and be adaptable. Be ready to switch gears if something isn't working. And for GNR in 2024, we unfortunately were a little bit lower ranked. We had a rough regional where we ranked 45th, and we're semifinalists, thankfully, and winning the autonomous award. But in the picture, the top right, that was our very first robot. And you can see on the left, we had a very large switch the build team decided to make to completely pivot for our next regional at week 6, which was the first official GCR at at St. Cloud, where we ranked 3rd and were regional winners alongside Toolcats and Sabre. And we won the Team Sustainability Award. And it was our first year going to Worlds completely on merit. And we competed in the Curie division, ranking 20th. And we were the division winners alongside Nemesis and Waffles, which took us to the Einstein Fields, where we were 5th in the world. Some biggest takeaways for this year was durability wins regionals. Essentially, make your robot bomb-proof. The reason that we struggled so much at our first regional was because we put too much into our robot, and all of our pieces were just a little bit too thin, and we had a really hard time with breaking down, and that's what cost us the regional. So we simplified everything and essentially turned into a specified turret bot that was really, really durable. Tempo could take some hard hits, and so that allowed us to rank 5th in the world. And then in 2025, this year, we were at Lake Superior and we ranked 20th there and we're semifinalists. Tate took his Dean's List Finalist Award, which was huge for him. And we went on to GCR to rank 4th and we're finalists there. And then we won the Engineering Inspiration Award for the first time in 7028 history, taking us once again to the Curie division where we ranked 3rd and we're semifinalists. That performance allowed us to get back to state after a few years of not being into it, and we placed 3rd there. And the biggest takeaway for us is to design to win champs, not regionals. This year, we mostly designed to win our week 1 event and do our best there. But we should have been looking farther into the future into what we need to do to win week 6 and eventually champs.
Okay, now I will be taking you through how we operate. So we're what is considered a community ed program, and so community ed is a community organization affiliated with our St. Michael Albertville School District. But since we're run through community ed, we're not considered a St. Michael Albertville High School activity. We're considered what they call an educational enrichment program. And so there are some pros to being a community ed program. We are independent from the school, so we have our own bank account, our own PO box, and that helps us with purchasing. We don't have to go through the bureaucracy of getting stuff approved that we want to buy through the higher ups. If we can just order parts, and yeah, like I said, we don't have to go through the bureaucracy. And then we also, since we're community ed, we also have access to school facilities. So we have access to 5 rooms, a wood shop, a metal shop, 2 computer labs, and another workshop area, and that's just really nice to have that connection. Some of the cons for community ed, we can't letter for robotics, since we're not considered a St. Michael Albertville High School activity. We can't letter. There's no co-curricular classes, so there aren't any classes directly related to robotics or that go into after school. And then we don't have control over the community ed fee. There's a small community ed fee, or there's a community ed fee that goes with joining the community ed program, and that pays for like the coaches stipends, and we can't control that as a program. And then, but one thing to note is that we maintain a strong relationship with the school. They give us announcements after our regionals, and they even recognize Tate at our academic award ceremony for winning the Dean's List Finalist Award at Lake Superior Regional. And now I'll talk about the STMA Robotics Association. So this is a 501c3 nonprofit which means that the IRS recognizes us as a tax-exempt charitable organization. And they handle all the financials, except for the coaches' stipends, which is covered through community ed. They support our FRC, FTC, and FLL programs, like Mallory said before. They're run by parent volunteers, and the main goal of the association is to lower overall costs. The association kicked into full gear during when we went to champs. They subsidized the cost to make it more affordable for students who couldn't afford it before. The main goal is we never want a student not to be able to go due to financial situations, and the STMA Robotics Association helps with that. And then I'll just give you a general cost breakdown. So the total, so the registration fee per student at the beginning of the year is $550. $250 is for the community ed fee, which I said before, it covers the coaches' stipends. And then there are association dues, which are $300, and that's just to help lower the cost for everyone else on the team. And it gives money to the STMA Robotics Association. And then there's also in-season travel fees, so $150 for cost for regionals, and that covers hotels and meals. And then the cost for champs was $700, and that included hotels and the bus transportation, but it didn't cover the meals. So the total budget for our FRC team this year was $45,000. So our yearly robot budget for our parts is $20,000, and we define that as the minimum amount of money needed to create a competitive robot. And then $5,000 goes to miscellaneous job supplies like tools and laptops used at the coach's discretion. And then outreach gets $1,500 to plan their events. And then our registration, it was $9,000 for the total for the two events. And then two events that we did, Lake Superior and Granite City. And then we also competed in some off-season events, and that was $675. We competed at the state tournament, which that was $1,000. And then there were also miscellaneous expenses like the banquet, getting T-shirts, transporting the robot for outreach, scholarships for our seniors, stuff like that. And that was $8,000. And then our FTC budget. So the cost for registering the new team or for a new team was about $1,200. And then we estimated the one-time cost for a new team is around $2,000 to $3,000. That's for new tools, kits, laptops, etc. Just stuff that you just need to buy one time and then you can reuse for the next year. Right now we have 6 FTC teams, and we're expecting future growth. There are 4 middle school teams and 2 high school teams. And each team has $500 to create their robot. And now I'm going to be talking about sponsorships. And so we're first going to talk about how we acquire sponsors. One way that we've done this in the past is through parents' jobs. One really cool story about that is how we got our biggest sponsor, Phillips. One of our alumni's parents actually worked there, and that's how we originally got it. And Phillips has been really generous and still supporting us even after that alumni has since graduated, and they're our biggest sponsor. We also reach out to local establishments, usually via email, and just to see if they would be generous enough to donate to our program. And we've actually, in the past couple of years, had local establishments reach out to us, which that was pretty cool. That they've heard of us and they've wanted to give to help enrich STEM in our high school or in our program, the people involved in our program's lives. And then we've also gotten grants from the Gene Haas Foundation, for example, and then also from the state of Minnesota. And then a big part is keeping the sponsors. And a big way we do this is through our media team. Our media team does an incredible job of documenting and filming all the inner workings of our FRC team. They post on our YouTube channel each week. They do Facebook posts just to keep our sponsors updated in the loop on what their money is going to and seeing what their money is being spent on, and just to show all the positive things that they're doing. We've also been asked to do demos for our sponsors. Some examples are we did a demo at UMC, we've done a demo at Mathnasium, and then we've also done one at Crestview, which was a Title I school sponsored by Phillips. And then we also volunteer at our sponsors' events, like our local Lions chapters put on pancake breakfasts, and we help serve food to the people coming in and wash dishes, set tables. And then we've also participated in meat raffles where we hand out tickets and collect money. And then recognizing our sponsors, we really want to emphasize how important our sponsors' generosity are to us. And we show this through all of their logos in the pit, as seen on the photo to the far right. We put their logos on plexiglass and we put them in our pit. We've also had sponsors on our robot before, and we make a sponsor banner where we display our sponsors' logos in our school. And then the picture on the left are our sponsors' logos on our t-shirts that we wear at competitions, and they are on the back of our t-shirt. So when people see us walking, they can see who sponsors us. And then just some of our material sponsors are Marksman Metal. They handle our bent parts. Astro Metalcraft manufactures flat parts, and then Jet Edge manufactures intricate flat parts such as gear teeth. And then I will be talking about FLL and FTC. So our FLL and FTC have grown just incredibly over the past 2 years. So right now we have 6 FLL teams. We have 2 First LEGO League Challenge, and then 4 First LEGO League Explore. And the goal of our FLL program is to get the elementary schoolers and middle schoolers more excited for FTC, and hopefully they'll join FTC, and that joining the FLL will spark a love for STEM at a young age. And we support it financially. We support the FLL program financially, but we have a different set of parents that run the FLL program. When I say we support it financially, like we cover the registration costs for the team and the students, and then the family that runs the FLL program, they handle the practices. And then our FTC program, this is one of the best things that we've done in our program, or the STMA robotics program, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But our FTC program has decreased mentor involvement with age. So like I said before, we have 2 high school teams, and they're more independent than our middle school teams. It's a different experience. The FTC program is a different experience, but not a worse one. They are working with smaller robots, but that doesn't mean that they're worse robots. They're still, the people involved in FTC are still learning invaluable knowledge with the design process, collaboration, leadership, that they'll take with them to FRC, which we believe FTC is the best practice for FRC. And that's definitely showed this year. And we've been wildly successful, especially in the past 2 years. Addie said before she was on Micro Militia, the original one. It disappeared for a little bit after COVID, but then it came back along with 2 other FTC teams last year, and then we've had 3 new FTC teams this year. So now we're at 6. And we've just been really successful with that. We had 3 teams make it to FTC state this year for the first time in our program history. One of our high school teams, 23739 Bike Brigade, made it to the finals at their qualifying them for state. And then our seventh grade team, 26-529 Digital Division, one of our rookie teams this year. They won Rookie Inspiration Award, which qualified them for state. And then finally, another one of our rookie teams, they were our other high school team, 26-530 Atomic Aces. They won their qualifier event, which qualified them for state. They took second place for the Inspire Award at their qualification event, which is kind of like the FTC Impact Award. And then at state, they were really successful. They finished 9th in qualifications. They ended up being the captain of the 6th Alliance, and they tied for 6th in their Galaxy division at state. And then so all these teams were wildly successful because of the students and mentors involved, and that really showed in the quality of the rookies that came up to FRC this year. I'm speaking from personal experience. They were just incredible. I mean, they were thrown into the thick of the FRC team, and they performed beautifully. We had 6 rookies from FTC this year. This was the first year that since our STMA robotics FTC program that we've had rookies come from FTC, and like I said, they just performed beautifully. And we're hoping that that will just keep happening in the future. And then, like I said before, we're expecting future growth. And yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Change of voice here. I will be talking about FRC structure and how we run our team. So we've had a mix of how we have run our team in the past. Currently we're running captains. Last year we had 4, and now we have 5. The reason we went to captains is because it has a flat hierarchy, and we found out that being the best at something doesn't mean that you're a great leader. So we try and pick the best possible leaders from our team and put them in a position where they can lead people, instead of what we had previously, which was team leads, which sometimes we found didn't quite foster the possible growth and didn't allow people to spread their wings and create the stuff that they were able to create and create improvements among the team. For example, we had a rookie this year, and he did amazing things. In particular with Cat. If he had even a team lead above him, he might have not had the courage to step up and make this decision. But because we have captains, we have people who foster these growths and help create these innovations in our team. For our mentorship, our mentors are probably the most important part of our team. I guess, yeah, I would say that. They're even more important than the students because they create our students. They're industry professionals who teach our students how to act in an environment and develop their skills as STEM people. They determine the future working force. They create skills in these young students that are eventually going to go out and work for all of these engineering companies that determine our future. Here are our platoons. We have 6 separate platoons. We have design, which designs the robots using CAD software. We traditionally have always used Onshape ever since 2022. We tried working in, what was it? I forgot what it was. Alex, can you help me here?
SolidWorks.
SolidWorks. Thank you. Yeah, we tried working in SolidWorks, but we decided to stay away from that and focus our CAD in Onshape because we felt like we weren't fully developed and ready for it. We have manufacturing, where we use our metal shop and our wood shop to create parts for our robot. Currently, we have a Haas mill that we use to cut out all of our parts, all of our tubing in-house and create that. We cut all of our shafts in-house, do all that. So we try and manufacture as much as we can in-house to increase our efficiency. But with our sponsors, we have access to precision manufacturing, thanks to them. For builds, which I'm a part of, we pretty much just put it together like a Lego set. Not much to say about that. But yeah, control systems, we merged our electrical platoon and our programming platoon and put them together this previous year because we found that there's not really enough students in that certain category to fill that. So yeah, we just added those two together. Our outreach platoon this year has been in a building year, as we've called it, because this next year we're going to create an impact presentation, an essay, and apply for the impact award. This year we kind of stepped back and figured out that we need more material to build upon. So that's what we did this year. For media and marketing, we have been a presence on YouTube, Instagram, and pretty much every single social media platform out there. Their job is to promote the team and get the name of 7028 out there and get people interested in FIRST Robotics. I get a little lag here. Our handbook. Our handbook is what creates our decision-making and our philosophy. So in this book, we have a history of pretty much everything that has gone over on our team. And we have everything that we have decided is a bad thing and a good thing, or things that we should avoid and things that we should embrace. For example, we have a kind of a step-by-step on what order we should choose stuff in. For example, we go from belt to rope. No, I'm sorry. It is belt to chain to rope. And we have in our handbook, it has specific stuff that determines how we make decisions on our team. Yeah. And to figure out what we put in our design book or our handbook is through our design meetings. A few weeks ago, we had a design meeting that helps us debrief what happened in our season, and it allows us to make changes within our handbook that fosters growth among our team and helps us figure out what we did wrong in the previous season so we don't make those mistakes in the future. And it also gets everyone up to speed on what we did wrong and what we were proud of this year. So it really affects how we design our robot for the next year based on what we fail at in the previous years. So in our decision making, it's never really a vote. It's more of a general agreement among our teammates. We'll never go, hey, if you want this prototype, raise your hand. If you want this prototype, raise your hand. It'll be more of a debate structure where we decide if one is better than the other and if we're going to commit to that. The questions that we ask is, does this design align with our design strategy, which is within the handbook? Does this design align with our team and season goals? We decide those before the year starts, and I believe they're also in our handbook, but I'd have to double check that. And our third question is, are the implications of the decision within our abilities? So that's pretty much determining if we can physically get this done within our competitive season or our build season or wherever we feel like we need to get the robot done by and dealt with. Our Gantt chart is also a very helpful tool that we have on our team. We use it to keep a schedule for our team and keep everything in order and make sure it's relying on track. So in the past few years, we've had a Gantt chart, and it's like this little Google Doc sheet thing that we give out certain time that we decide during our design strategy meeting that I mentioned earlier, where we figure out what specific blocks of time we need to give to certain platoons to get a task done. So, for example, we give a few weeks for our design, and then we give a few weeks for our build, programming, CAD, all that stuff, and then we just have it laid out in front of us, and we know when we should be done with the project. It sets a deadline, and that really helps us add pressure onto us and create a design that we know will work, and we will know when it's done. For our competitions, I like that picture. Everyone at our competitions has a role. Not one person is not doing something. And I think that is a very good takeaway from this presentation. If you're going to take away one thing from this presentation, give everyone a role. Some of the roles would be drive team, pit crew, scouters, media, and impact. Those drive team members, they're actively participating in the competition. They are on the field, driving the robot, operating the robot, playing human player. They're doing all that. Pit crew, they're making sure that the robot is working effectively and is working at its best ability. Our scouters, we have our own scouting app, and that we have pit scouters and then we have stand scouters. Our pit scouters, they kind of move around the pits, get data from the app from other teams, and then we use that to process during our strategy meetings the day before line selection, the night before line selection. And we use that data as well from our stand scouters, and we have 6 students for each match that pick a robot, and then they collect all the data from that robot in a match. For our media, they're taking pictures and spreading the word of 7028, as I mentioned earlier. They're using all that cool stuff to give us a presence and show what we're doing to the world. Our impact people, they are doing the impact presentation. That will be next year, because this year we didn't do an impact presentation. And this year we also implemented regional requirements, where I forgot what the exact numbers were, but we got an app and we kind of logged in our hours. Depending on how many hours you had, you were able to quote to a regional. If you had a certain amount of volunteer hours, that was also a requirement. And you also had to be within good standing of your grades. So yeah, that's about our competitions. And I will be handing it off to Addie now to talk about her scouting, because she is the main person for scouting on our team.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'll be talking about our scouting and strategy on our team. Back in 2023, we were kind of looking for another option for our scouting, because we haven't really been doing stand scouting and we weren't really doing pit scouting, and we really wanted to establish some scouting on our team so we can have some help during our alliance selection. So we first were initially looking for a pre-existing scouting app to use, but one of our alumni actually mentioned, hey, why don't we just make our own scouting application? So we really had a brilliant programmer and a lot of students help create our own scouting application called Super Alliance, and it's been super helpful the past 3 years using it to get data and help in our strategy meetings. Yeah, we can design how we want to see the data and collect what data we want to see. So that's been really helpful for determining what we want to look for in a robot when picking them for alliance selection. We have the scouting app is made for both pit and stand scouting, which Tate has already explained kind of the background of pit and stand scouting. We have usually 2 to 4 pit scouters. We actually had 6 this year, who go around to the teams to ask questions at basically any information we want to know about a team that we can't find out from stand scouting. And then our stand scouters, we have usually 2 teams of 6 people who switch off in shifts, just to kind of keep students interested in the competition, but also don't feel like they're working the whole time. And that seems to be working out great the past 3 years, and we've been getting great data from our whole team since then. And it also provides the team a chance to have everybody participate in a competition instead of it all being about the drive team and the pit crew, and it just gives everybody a role to feel like they're doing something to contribute to the team when they go to a competition. Like I said, scouting is essential to our strategy at competitions. We wouldn't be able to make our decisions at alliance selection without the scouting data that we acquire. All right, I'll be talking about our team culture next, kind of more of the stuff that makes our team unique compared to others. Here are some team goals that we have outlined in our student handbook. We want to foster a welcoming, safe STEM community to challenge our students to become their best self. We kind of want to create that STEM interest in the high school community that we don't often see in our academic classes. We want to grow our students' skill and knowledge through an authentic real-world mentorship-based experience. It's really a first-hand experience with students to work with mentors and get really that real-life work experience that you can't get through other athletic sports or academic classes. Design and build competitive world championship-worthy robots that we are proud of. I mean, it's first robotics. We want to build a robot that can go to worlds. That's really a big thing about our team, is that we want to build a good robot and have fun with it. And then impact our community through STEM awareness, advocacy, and education. Really, that's just our outreach. We want to make sure our community is aware of our STEM program here and is wanting to continue to grow that within our community. Joining our team, we added an application this past year to kind of help manage the student inflow that we're getting. So we had a prerequisite. You must have completed one of these. You must have either participated in a preseason program, were involved in an STMA Robotics FTC program, or on an FRC team in previous years. This just helps the new incoming members have a grip on the FIRST robotics world before being entered into the high school experience. And then completely new members to FIRST are usually put on the FTC team so they can get more of an idea of what they want to do before they join our high school program. And then once that prerequisite is met, they fill out the application, usually just asking questions about themselves and what they're interested in on the high school team. And then the coaches go through all the applications and approve those applicants. Something that we started last year, 7028 Connect, we wanted the team members on our team to interact more instead of just everybody being in their separate platoons and teams and not getting to really know the entire team. So we do this 2 times per week, usually on the Wednesday before practice start and the Saturday before lunch. And we do different things, like we play games with our teams. We do stuff like Pictionary, Heads Up, 7 Up. We do some other things like Hot Seat, where someone goes up and you ask them a bunch of questions. It just really helps create more of a fun environment in the stressful build season and gets members to know each other. We also did Guess the Song, which had both students and mentors submit songs, and you'd play it, and then people try to guess who submitted a song. It kind of gets to know people on a different level than just talking with them. And then we implemented a point system with this to, help encourage students to participate. And then whoever got the most points at the end of the season got a prize. So that really helped add a competitive aspect to this connection. We do host quite a few social events throughout the season to also help with team bonding throughout the year. I host game nights at my house. I probably do about 2 to 3 a year, and I've been pretty consistent the past few years, and it's been really successful with students coming over. We just play board games or some video games or whatever, just trying to get kids to interact with each other outside of robotics. And especially this last one, I think we had 23 members show up, which is over half our team. And we all had a lot of fun, and it kind of gets to let people interact more with each other. We do a lot of stuff at our hotels. I mean, there's the pool that we swim in that a lot of kids show up to have fun with each other. And then we've even hosted Super Smash Bros. Tournaments in the past to help keep the competitive spirit during the competition alive. And then we also do a lot of team bonding at Champs, since it is a big, important week, but it also should be a fun week. I mean, we get the chance to go to Worlds. I mean, that's a huge thing that students should be able to be proud of. And so last year we went to NASA and went to go see that whole that whole facility, and that was really cool to see, especially as STEM students. And then this year we went to an arcade, which was more of a fun thing after a long bus ride, but that also was really nice to have. And then both these years when we went to Champs, we've gone on the Robonauts tour, where all students were invited to go see that and see their facilities. And it's been a really helpful thing for people to kind of see what a top team's facility looks like. Then we have kickoff, which is a big event on our team, as it is for most teams. It usually starts around 8 a.m. and we go over the team expectations, the handbooks, kind of get the new members a feel for what the team is kind of like that. We do our big team photo that is usually at the end of all of our media videos and what we use. And then we usually have a game right before kickoff to keep students have fun before the kickoff of this FRC season. So the past few years we've done Family Feud, and that usually gets students really excited for the new game that was about to be revealed. Now, after the game is released, we usually have lunch, and then we split into 4 groups: design, strategy, outreach, and media. And then students who are interested in those things can go into those groups, and we all talk about what the next 6 weeks of this build season will look like. And then it usually ends around 5 p.m. or earlier. It just kind of depends year to year where the groups are. Then preseason, what we're going to be doing this next year is we're going to have an open shop where we'll work on some more housekeeping things, organizing, FTC, some potential prototyping for the next year. That's what we'll be working on this year. And in past years, we've had separated workshops. So we've had a design workshop where rookies get to know the design process and learn more of the CAD software. We've had a control system workshop where you learn more about the programming of first and, all that electrical stuff. And then a media and marketing workshop where you get introduced to editing and producing videos before the season starts. Then the Central Minnesota Hub, we actively participate in it. It's open to the entire team to come to these meetings, and it helps create good relationships within our hub. And for the past few years, we've also hosted the spec check here, and that's been a really huge thing for us to interact within our own hub.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about our design philosophy. So we have some stuff just for when we're building that are rules that we kind of loosely follow. Avoid sheets of 1/8-inch aluminum. This is kind of recent. It's part of the durability thing. If 1/4 inch isn't necessary, 1/8 inch will probably work. And if you're thinking, oh, I don't know if that 1/8 inch is strong enough, or the 1/16 is strong enough, it's probably something you could do in 1/4 inch. We don't torque hex rods anymore. We've had issues using that for slap down intakes and manipulators where we'll twist the hex rods and you get a lot of lash if you're doing lots of torque on a hex rod that's turning a chain or something. Max Spline or the Spline XL, they're very similar. They're both way better for that. We use belts for velocity, chains for position control. So we really use chains for our elevators, although some teams are doing belts now. We haven't really tried that. We try to stick to chains. And we do high speed stuff. We do belts all the time. So all our manipulators, everything is belt and pulley. And we try not to 3D print pulleys. This is also kind of recent because if the pulleys spin in too fast, you can actually bore out the middle, which is something we've had an issue with before. Some overarching things. These are really just the most key fundamentals that are essential. It's kind of like a pyramid where the base is the most important cornerstone, but all three things are essential. What you really need most is durability, and then consistency is second place, and speed is third place. And the real reason for this is just because if you don't have one thing at the bottom, you can't have any things above it, which is just why that's the order. But if you want to have a robot that's competent in worlds, we've determined that you kind of need all three. If the robot's not durable, it's not going to work consistently and it won't be fast. And if it's not consistent, that's going to slow you down. It won't be fast. So it can be consistent and durable and not fast. But if it's not durable, it won't be consistent or fast. If it's not consistent, it may be durable, but it's not going to be fast. So that's just key.
All right, I'll be taking us through our outreach and kind of more of the background on that on our team. So we've done a lot of outreach events, a lot of different types of outreach events, and that's really helped with our community, seeing our STEM program. So we've done Girl Scout and Cub Scout visits where we've helped Girl Scouts earn their badge and just for Cub Scouts to get exposed to robotics. And those have been really successful, a lot of fun for our team to interact with those kids. We've also helped out at our own local food shelf. We actually finished before the time was ended, so we helped them with even more stuff than they expected, and we are hoping to continue helping the community see us. We've done elementary school and middle school visits where we go and demo a robot and usually just introduce our program to those kids in our FTC and FLL program, just so those kids can get a firsthand experience with our robotics program at STMA. We do sponsor demos. We go to our sponsors and usually show off our robot and present about our team to keep them interested and just to let them be aware of our progress as we go throughout the years and their support, how much it really helps us. we do a state fair demo this past year, which was really successful. It was really good for the state to see us there, and just a good opportunity for our team. We've also done many parades in the past few years where that also gets, not the to have the whole community see us without having to go to an event, just to see us in a parade and see a robot shooting t-shirts and nerds, and just kind of it gets kids excited to see, like, oh, look, a robot's going down the street. I wonder what I can do to be a part of that. So that's been really cool for our team to do. And we've also done local library visits in the past few years where we talk to more younger kids, not necessarily FLL age or elementary school age, but younger kids and their parents, to get them aware of our robotics program. And this past year, we've done a really big program that our outreach team has been working on, which is called BAB, or Build a Robot. And our next slide will talk about that. So we started a program this fall, and this whole winter we've had a couple students work on it, called Build a Bot, which we wanted students, or not necessarily students, but kids, to be able to take home a robot that they can build on their own and drive on their own. And this was our main outreach project this past year, and it was extremely successful. We had a student, Ty Hurd, who mainly designed and programmed and tested all these robots. His help was extremely important this year, and he did so much to help support this. And it's all mostly 3D printed except for the electrical components. And kids are able to control this robot on their own, on their phone, or another Bluetooth-enabled device on an app called Remote XY. This is the first year we've ever tried to do such a big program like this, and it was an absolutely huge success. I think we had about 50 kids show up to the library, and we even had more kids out the door wanting to have a robot and try this out. And it was held at a local library, and it was about $1,200 for 50 robots. But this is all completely free for the kids to take home and use. And we honestly had parents coming up to us and asking, hey, when's the next time that this is going to be available? Like, what else can my kid do to get involved with this? And it was just honestly a huge success for our outreach team, but overall just our main team in the STMA robotics program overall.
All right. So this is just going to be some things we've learned through the years through making mistakes, because failure is the best teacher. So got to build a design to win champs. This is the lesson we learned most recently. We thought we could just make a robot that would win week 1 and maybe make improvements between now and Worlds, but we didn't really set ourselves up for success because the first robot didn't accommodate for additional improvements. And so we kind of trapped ourselves in the box. So the new idea that we learned there is you got to make a robot that you think can succeed at the world tournament or at the state tournament, whatever your final goal is. And building a robot that you think is just going to be good enough to do well at your first regional is really going to limit you. Spend less time deciding which abilities the robot will have. You want to know what you have, what you're capable of doing. And for us, we really think we can do all of the goals. So we're just going to say at the start of every game that comes out, we're going to do all these things. We just got to figure out how we're going to do these things. The durability piece. I already covered this a little, but it still kind of stings because it was just a lesson that we learned the hard way when we took this robot to GCR. And just about every piece of this robot got bent in some way. I actually got to take a couple home because we disassembled this sucker and put new pieces on that were not going to bend, that were thicker and not pocketed. So that pocketing is a dangerous game. If your robot breaks, it doesn't matter how amazing the design is because it's not doing anything. Check your electrical stuff. Make sure your wires, do a tug test on everything. Make sure your plates aren't too thin. Make sure your belly pan isn't going to start bending and dragging on the ground. That happened. black and white thinking. This is something that we fall into a lot, and I don't think that's just our team. It's easy to just lay out hard and fast rules, but sometimes you got to bend the rules, and sometimes you got to use your best judgment and not just fall back on written rules. That's why our rules ended up being very vague in the past, is because we don't want to put ourselves in a box. We used to think about how we used to think about design. So we used to do totally structured everything with the subsystems. We would want every subsystem to be for a different purpose. That's really what led us into our trap in 2024, where we had a robot that's not durable. We thought the best shooter isn't the best intake, and the best intake isn't the best manipulator. And so everything's got to be a different subsystem, and they'll all have to interact with each other. Then that leads to weight problems because you've got a bunch of subsystems. And when you take off the weight, now the robot's not durable because you thinned everything out. So you just got to have some flexibility in your rules and have some priorities. But hard and fast rules usually don't lead to success. The gray area of meeting in the middle is usually what's best and most beneficial.
I will be talking about the future of 7028. So what we're adding this next year would be, so we're going to prototype an arm over the summer because we haven't had that much experience with pick and place games. And with the pick and place games that we've had, we haven't had immense success. I mean, this year it was pretty good, but our manipulator was not the best part of our robot, I would say. So we're going to try and figure out something better that we can do. And we already have some ideas running. We're going to create a new demo bot. We're going to be making a prototype testing drivetrain. One of the issues we found during our prototyping season was that we weren't able to really test our prototypes properly without having a drivetrain with us. So we're thinking of adding a kind of modularity ability to our prototypes. So we're going to be able to throw our prototypes on a drivetrain and see how it works in more of a competitive setting and how it would work in a match. As I mentioned earlier, we will be starting our impact. We'll be doing all of that impact stuff now that we have a more fundamental foundation of what our impact essay is going to look like. And big announcement kind of thing. We're thinking about, we're going to get a new STEM center. Hopefully. Currently, it's pending approval. It'll be 10,000 square feet. It'll be an addition to the size or to our engineering area of our parking lot. So it won't be too far away from our feet, or it'll be an addition to our school pretty much. It'll have a full size FRC field, so that'll help benefit us and surrounding teams. I don't know how that'll affect everyone, but I think it'll affect everyone in a beneficial way. If anyone wants to slide by, that might be in the future of 7028. It'll also be adding workspace area solely for 7028 robotics. For questions, here's all of us and here's what we specify in. If you have a question in a certain category, ask us about it.
I have a question. So in an earlier slide, you said that there are 3 ways you get in the FRC team. One is you were on it the year before, you were on an FTC team, or you were in a preseason something or other. Can you tell me more about what this preseason thing is?
So this year we did an open shop where we got a new pit. And so we were working on that, and so that was one of the options. And then we also had a design 101 workshop run by a student and one of our coaches. And then just to get the rookies or people wanting to work more with CAD software, more accustomed to that. And then we also had a we had like a programming or control systems workshop that was led by one of our mentors, and some programming and electrical tips and tricks were taught. And then there was also a media workshop where the people involved in that were learning how to make and produce and edit videos. And if you were involved in one of those four things, or if one of those four workshops, then you were eligible for the application process.
And then when you say preseason, what do you consider? Is this before September, before October, or is this before January?
So this is before January, typically September through about early November, late October.
So does that mean that your fall is sort of open to everybody, and then you decide who's on the team in January? Is that how that works?
Late December, or mid to late December, or January.
Okay. And so you said there's an application process. Does that mean you restrict your team to a certain size, or do you take anybody as long as you feel like they're a good fit?
Yeah, Will, I can step in and answer that one a little bit too. So we kind of had a transition year last year with our first year doing the application. And the kids in the fall fell into two categories, either FTC or our preseason workshops. The purpose isn't necessarily to keep our numbers down. The purpose is to make sure that the kids that think they want to do robotics are signing up for the thing that they want to be signed up for, right? At the beginning of our handbook, we have kind of some questions about, like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for like a fun after school STEM activity, or are you looking for something that's, 30 hours a week for 4 months straight, right? So this year we didn't really turn anybody down, and that wasn't really the goal of the application. I think we let everybody through except maybe a couple kids who are applying through a different school district. And the other reason for doing it is to kind of create that buy-in for our students to know that they are here for a reason. We want them here, and we believe that they are capable of doing good work on our team. But kind of to answer your question a little bit more, your previous question, where do we put kids who are like new high school robotics kids? We're putting them all into FTC now, right? This is where you can find out, 4 hours a week if you like this at all. And if you do, great, you can join us in the winter.
I see. So you can be both on an FTC and FRC team in the same year.
Correct. Yeah. And we're structuring our FTC to end before winter break so that there's less overlap. We had a little bit of overlap this year that was tricky because our FTC kids were still very much preoccupied with FTC the first couple of weeks of January because of the state tournament and everything. But we're structuring it next year to kind of end in December. And also we're kind of removing our workshop sessions in the fall in favor of just having our FRC kids do FTC in the fall. Because seeing it in action, it really is the best practice for FRC rather than sitting in a classroom and, for example, listening to myself teach you about CAD for eight weeks. Is to just join a little FTC team and practice your CAD in a real season.
I had more questions, but I want to leave opening for other folks that are on the call if anyone else has a question. Okay, then I will go on with my next one. I want to hear more about this new STEM center. How did that happen? Is this an initiative by the school? Is this your initiative, part of your nonprofit? I think it's every team's dream to have a full field. So tell us more, please.
Yeah, I can answer that one too. It's like the dream, right? Is to have a full-size field like attached to your workshop. So how is this happening? We just basically asked for it. In 2022, we learned a lot of things about being competitive. And we also learned that the teams that are really doing it the best have access to a field that is actually analogous to the field that you're going to play on, right? What we're doing by pulling out a piece of carpet into our cafeteria and playing on some wood field elements is equivalent to practicing for the NBA on the hoop that's nailed to my garage. It's not the same thing. So we first approached our superintendent and our principal and our building and grounds and kind of got them all in the same room and basically said, we know this isn't going to happen, but this is what we want. And this is why it's important. And I think it really resonated with our superintendent. And kind of over the last few years, I think it's been worked on in the background a little bit, and we've been kind of promoting it. And in the meantime, we've been pursuing other avenues. We're like, well, we need this field, right? We could go totally private. We could detach, and we could build our own facility and just run like I'll quit education and I'll just be a full-time robotics dude and run it like a karate dojo, right? And we also pursued like, can we just get enough sponsor donations to donate to the school and pay for it? And we tried a lot of different avenues. And in the meantime, what we did is we grew our program and we grew our awareness, right? So like kindergarten through 12th grade, we got 150 kids in the district that are involved in robotics, FLL, FTC, FRC. And that goes a long way. We're really active on Facebook and just letting our community know that we exist and how cool we are. It, we're part of a bond that needs to be approved by the school board first, which sounding like it's the talks are going well, but it'll be voted on in the fall, and it would include that addition. So how did we make it happen? We grew our program, we let our community know how cool we are, and we asked for it, and we didn't quit trying.
Well, good for you. Very, very impressive.
Thank you.
I think the answer of you asked for it might be a little discouraging for those of us who have asked for it, but I am very excited for you guys. I think that is awesome. And I'm very happy to hear that there are school districts out there that are putting the efforts into robotics. You're not alone, but you're certainly in the minority, and I want to congratulate you guys. I hope it goes through. I understand that it's not a done deal yet, but I definitely hope that it goes through for you. So you mentioned your FLL and your FTC program. Can you tell us more about how your FLL programs run?
Yeah, so we had an FLL program a number of years ago that was run by, I believe she was a middle school teacher. Correct me if I'm wrong, Addie, but she's involved with our middle schools.
We didn't have an FLL program back then. She was our middle school STEM teacher, and she did FTC, and we did that for about 3 years before COVID kind of shut that program down.
Yeah, and that program was always kind of detached from the FRC team. And at that point, we were still kind of getting our bearings and learning how to be an FRC team. So we're very much separate, and that program did not return after COVID. So I don't know what really sparked the interest, but I think part of it was community ed reaching out to us and saying, hey, you guys have this awesome high school level robotics. What else can we do? And we started up our FTC programs. We run them September through December. We run them twice a week. We split them between our 7th and 8th graders and our 9 and up. So we have a high school and a middle school group. The middle school group looks a lot different than the high school group, as you'd imagine. The middle school group has a program director who's also a mentor and probably on this call for our FRC program. And she does a fantastic job with it and relies on parents to come in and kind of mentor each individual team that we have quite a bit. So we run about 5 to 8 kids on an FTC team. They have their own little rolling tool cart, which you can probably see behind me. And I'm fortunate enough in my classroom to have an FTC field. So they practice in this room right here twice a week. The high school group is also twice a week on alternating days. And we like to kind of advertise it as mentorless, like without mentors, because I think there's a certain number of kids in high school who don't want the mentorship experience. They want a fully student-led, they want to be in control of their team from top to bottom. So we kind of run it that way, and we even give them their own money to spend. We give them a budget and tell them to track it. And You can spend this on your robot however you like. So it's very, very hands off at the high school level. And like I said, I think it's one of the best things that we've ever done for our program. It's been super, super successful in the 2 years that we've had it. We had 43 kids in FTC last fall, which is more kids than we had in FRC. And like, we're looking at the numbers for this fall. None of those 43 kids are aging out of FTC, and we're telling FRC kids to move down into FTC in the fall. And we have a new group of 8th graders into 9th grade that are also going to be in high school FTC. So we're looking at like 60, possibly 60 plus kids in FTC this fall.
And so you said the FTC kids are working out of your classroom and they're alternating every other day, middle school, high school. Where are you running your FLL program?
Yeah, so the FLL program is run in the media center, mostly across from my room here. So they store all of their equipment and supplies. I have a kind of a back room here, and they store it there. They store some of it with our FRC stuff down in our shops, and they kind of operate wherever they can find space. But they don't need a whole lot. FLL, they've got their tables and their mats and everything in their bins. But they can work out anywhere that really just kind of has some surfaces that they can lay out.
And so those folks is mostly elementary for the FLL? Yeah,
FLL first has 3 divisions of FLL. We only run 2 of them. We run Explore, which is 1st through 4th grade. And then we run Challenge, which is 5th and 6th graders. And those groups meet, I think they meet on same days or alternating days. Each group is coached by a husband and wife team that do a really awesome job. But yeah.
And so is this right after school? Or I suppose if it's husband and wife, is it in the evenings then?
Yeah, so what we found is with the younger kids that don't necessarily drive or attend the high school, getting to the high school at 3:30 is kind of off the table, right? Parents got to get home from work, and they're at the middle school or elementary school. How do they get here? So we run those later in the day for our younger kids. So I think FLL is, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but like 5:30 to 7:30 or 6 to 7:30, something like that, twice a week.
I see. Anyone else have questions? Somebody out there must have a question besides me.
Good evening. First, great job on presenting how your team works. And we're interested at 2472 in FTC and how to even get that started and how you recruited coaches. They said that we're kind of taking it as a task this year to learn about it, to see if it's something we launch for fall of 26.
Yeah, so getting started with FTC, I'll do my best. Alicia, it looks like Alicia is on this call as well. She's our FTC program director, so she might want to chime in with some more information. But you're going to need somebody to oversee the entire program. You don't necessarily have to split it like we are with middle and high school. You can target whichever age groups you want, but you're going to need somebody, preferably like somebody on staff that you can count on that's going to be there and make sure the doors are open and that sort of thing. But what we found with FTC is that it doesn't require all of this high-end skill set that maybe you need to bring in through mentors and FRC. So I wouldn't worry too much about that end of things. You're going to start slow and you're going to build up that mentor base for FTC over time. We're actually finding that we're getting a really awesome FTC mentor base that is we're almost training our FTC mentors to be FRC mentors in the process. We got a mentor pipeline now even. But yeah, how do you get started? We are involved with we were involved with the Vermilion League, which is ran by High Tech Kids in Otsego. Essentially, you have a couple different options for competing in FTC. You can do leagues, which are kind of like a bunch of smaller events where you culminate in a league tournament or a league qualifier. Or you can do like the FRC equivalent of a regional, which is a qualifier. And what new teams will tend to do, what we've done is we've done leagues so that we can get a bunch of plays. We can get 5 events out of one team rather than go to one regional, right? So basically what we do is we get all the teams signed up through community ed. We look at how many kids signed up, register that many teams, like I said, about 5 to 8. You can have like up to 12 kids on an FTC team, but really if you ask anyone who's done it for a while, they're going to say that's probably not great. Ideally, it's like 5, 6, 7 kids because that there's not as much work to go around necessarily on an FTC team. Stacy, hopefully I'm answering your questions a little bit, but if you have any more, I'd be happy to follow up.
Not at this time. We're just kind of, and I'm with a mentor with 2472, the Centurions. We're just trying to look at how to bring the program down to different levels, and we're kind of maybe in a stage where we don't even know all the questions to ask. So we're picking up nuggets of knowledge where we can, and kind of following what other teams are doing. So thank you.
That's good. No, that's great to hear. And I would encourage you to continue pursuing that. Financially, we accidentally made money on FTC this year. So it really is, it's pretty cheap to run. It kind of runs itself. The kids did a small fundraiser, but yeah, I would encourage you to keep pursuing it. And I'm happy to answer further questions if you have them down the line or this summer or anything.
Zach, on your FTC, how many hours a week do you think is the right number of hours for an FTC team? And the reason why I asked this is we did help, KnightKrawler helped run an FTC team at our middle school for a number of years, and then they switched our start time, and then the high school got out later, so they couldn't come over to the middle school and help. So it was for the last couple of years prior to COVID, it was just 2 mentors that were over there. And we were only able to meet an hour and 15 minutes after school twice a week. Just didn't seem like that was enough to get anything accomplished. I mean, I think our kids did a good job, but it was always a rush. And I just don't feel like the kids got as much out of it as they could have. What are you guys doing in terms of hours per week? And do you feel like there's a better number that you'd like to get to someday?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've ran 2 hours twice a week, so 4 hours a week. And that's worked pretty well for us. At the middle school level, they're totally happy with that. In fact, a lot of kids will kind of just come in whenever they want. They've got events going on or whatever. So at 2 1-hour, 15-minute sessions a week, I would imagine you kind of run into the problem that by the time you pull out all of your stuff to get working, it's time to clean it up again. So yeah, but then at the high school level for FTC, our high school FTC kids are going crazy. They want to go to Worlds for FTC, and they want to practice on Saturdays, and they want to go crazy with it. And I'm just like, guys, we're okay. We're doing great at 4 hours a week doing FTC. Save all the energy for FRC. But to answer your question, we're really happy with 2 2-hour sessions a week right now. We think that's a really good time frame.
Do you have a guess of how many students you'll have through all 3 of your programs next year? You guys have a guess of what your growth is going to be? It sounds like you're going to have growth.
Yeah, we've traditionally had about 50 or 40 members on FRC. We were expecting that number to go down with adding the application process in, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think we can expect to run about 40 kids in the future on FRC. Like I said, upwards of 60, and we're even preparing for worst case scenario, like 80 kids. But I think around 50 to 60 is a pretty safe bet. So there's 100 kids there, and then we've got another 50 plus in FLL. So we're at that 150 plus range. Now there are kids who overlap between FTC and FRC, so they're kind of double counted. But yeah, I think a key part of getting this STEM center going was just growing the program as much as possible, and that's what our focus was the last year and the last couple of years, is just grow as much as we can, because we do think that the FRC platform is really cool, and we've got a lot of awesome people behind us to make it work. And why shouldn't more kids have the opportunity to experience it?
It's very admirable, exceptionally admirable. This has been a fantastic presentation. I want to get let's say before we do this, any final wrap up questions, comments? Does anybody have anything else they want to either ask or say before we wrap things up? All right, hearing nothing. Let's give everyone a round of applause here. This was awesome. Awesome. You guys did an excellent job. There's so much information here. I know that I will be going back and watching this again. I'm sure this will get a fair number of YouTube rewatches as well once we get it uploaded. So thank you so much. This has been a great way to wrap up the end of the year. You guys did an excellent job. All right. With that, I guess this is us signing off until October. So everyone have an enjoyable summer. Get all of your preparations done so you're ready to roll in the fall. And I will hopefully see everyone back in October.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.